Welcome to the Admin to Admin Academy podcast, a place for ambitious and motivated Salesforce admins to find inspiration and strategies for professional growth. Here's your host, Melissa Van Dyke. She's all about efficiencies and taking care of business, so she will teach you tips and tricks to help you manage your projects and identify the quick fix, low-hanging fruit in your organization.
Hello and welcome to episode number 1 of the Admin to Admin Academy. We're a podcast for the ambitious Salesforce admin. So maybe you have just recently been thrown into the fire of administering Salesforce. Your boss purchased Salesforce and now you're trying to figure out how to make it work. Or you have been slowly getting into this new role and you're kind of excited and find some opportunity to take on some bigger projects. Or you just want to grow your career. You're looking to move over from maybe an administrative role into a full Salesforce administration role, which there are plenty of out there if you're interested in making the move. The market is really, really great for people that want to enter and move over to doing Salesforce full time. So very exciting stuff, and I'm very excited to have you here. And the introduction, I just want to say thank you to my husband, Brian Willie, for doing that introduction. It's hilarious. I chuckle every time I hear it. And his brother, Ed Willie, for the music, providing that music, which is just really cool, and I really appreciate the support. So thanks, guys. All right, so today's episode is all about paying attention. We're going to go over in detail kind of the first step of our admin getting started model, which will be a central theme that we'll go over on this podcast. It's kind of the I'm an admin, now what? What do? I sit down, I want to take that next step. I want to start thinking in a way that can really start bringing value for my organization. I want to be proactive. I want to know how I get more responsibility. I want to understand how I can get people to be excited about Salesforce and want me to help them make more efficiencies and really, really drive value. I think that's really the most important thing when we're sitting down and we're like, hey, we really want to be more helpful. We really want to make a bigger impact. It's really about bringing value. In Salesforce, knowing how to do these things in Salesforce and really drive efficiencies comes from just getting started. And so we're just going to cover how do you get started. It comes from paying attention as step number 1. So we'll cover that today. We'll also cover a formula use case every single episode, a very specific example to get you started using formulas, because I am a huge believer that formulas are the heart and soul of Salesforce. If you're looking to get quick wins, if you're looking to do some really cool value drivers for your organization, it's all going to start with formulas. So we're going to do some of my favorite formulas that I use all of the time, and we'll do it step by step in a couple of different formats so that everybody can have access to their learning style. So whether it's in a demo or whether you're listening to this as an audio and you want to download and print the instructions, you'll be able to go to the show notes at melissavandyke.com/admin to admin and download the instructions that we go over for every single formula. You'll also be able to download in the show notes the getting started model and all the details that we talk about in this podcast. So that'll be really exciting for you guys to be able to look at this outside of just listening. You'll be able to download. So about me, Melissa Van Dyke here. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm at MVDSFDC. And you can also find me at the Admin to Admin Academy on the Success community, success.salesforce.com. Just look for the group Admin to Admin Academy and join the group and start in on posting your success stories, your questions, maybe post some comments about what you think about the podcast. Absolutely anything. I'm always there and really excited to hear from everybody. And of course, melissavandyke.com is my blog and where you can find more episodes of this podcast. Okay, so all about paying attention. Paying attention is really about working to understand your business owners. And the secret is that people will tell you where the pain is if you ask. And if you listen, you'll really start to see where they need help. And so your job is to help them be part of the solution. And as soon as you start kind of shifting your perspective to being part of the solution and really driving value, then you're going to find that people will tell you everything. And you're going to really kind of, knowledge is power in this scenario. Because the more people that you have telling you what their problems are, then the more connections you can start to make, that you can connect the dots, you can really bring people together, brainstorm, connect people to each other and say, hey, so-and-so said this, and it seems like from what I know from this other team, they're doing this, and you guys there's probably an opportunity for us to, bring you guys together and maybe do a process in Salesforce that, streamlines these things. And you just start to see those things. So paying attention is just a perspective shift. It's something you can do right away, starting today, to just look at things a little bit different. So one action item is to identify the key managers in your organization. Just figure out who those people are that make decisions about strategic goals, or they implement the strategic goals that have been decided by upper management. A lot of times they're directors of a sales team, or they're managers of a team that does process. So they need to measure how their team is performing. They ensure that specific processes are being carried out efficiently. So these people really, really love efficiencies because it will help them. They want insight into what is going on in their team. And that's why Salesforce is so popular, because these people sit in on a demo with Salesforce.com, and they decide to buy Salesforce because of the demo that's showing them that they can get their hands on all of these amazing dashboards and reports and insights. And the connection, the glue, the thing that makes all of that happen is you as an admin. You have to make that happen. Buying Salesforce doesn't just make that happen. Someone has to do it. Someone has to be able to visualize and put in a process that allows these managers to get what they need. So reach out to these people. After you identify them, reach out to them and ask them, do you mind sitting down with me and explaining to me your pain points around your processes, around how you measure performance, whatever is applicable for your part of the company, whether you're in the sales organization, the marketing organization, another part, legal, contracts, any part of the organization, you're going to have these people that need information. And I promise you, when you do this, a few things are going to happen and it'll be like magic. I promise you. First, they will be very happy to tell you. Don't even hesitate, because they will be happy to sit down with you and spend their time talking to you. And you will also immediately be perceived as a person of action. You're someone that goes above and beyond for the company. In that moment that you take this action, the perspective that they have of you will become that you are a person that is proactive. You are there to help them. You are sincerely listening to them, and you are asking them questions about how you can help them. They will love you. I promise you. They're going to be happy to meet with you. You're going to find they're just seriously happy. You're going to be amazed at how happy they are to spend their time with you. They're very valuable time with you. And respect that. Remember, they're spending their time with you. Take notes. Be efficient at what you're doing. Just pay attention. And then they're going to see you as the go-to person. You will become the person that everyone says, oh my gosh, you know that person, Melissa? She is always asking me about how she can help me. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, someone really cares about me. Someone really cares about what I'm doing. And they can't believe it. They're just so excited. And you have a skill that you can actually use to make their lives easier. How beautiful is that? So you're going to be able, you will do this. You will then go to your desk and you'll start outlining things. And this will be a later podcast, all of these things. But basically what you're going to do is sit there and say, how can I help this person with my skills as the Salesforce expert, whether or not I know everything, which I don't obviously know everything. And I will sit down and figure this out for them. And then I will explain to them what their options are, right? So you're starting, this is step one. Just step one right now is just gathering the information, is identifying these people and start a dialogue. That's it. That's not scary. You can do this. I promise. Step two is also identify the subject matter experts. Okay, they're your best friends. Identify them. And they're typically going to be the support role that work for the managers that you identified in step number one. Okay, so they're the people that actually carry out the processes. They know the most about the processes that are being provided to the managers. Okay, so for example, they're a support person. They're probably like an administrative assistant, an executive assistant that is responsible for ensuring that RFPs, maybe requests for proposals or some kind of proposals, are issued in accordance to the process, right? Requests for business come in, and there's some kind of process that goes out to bid on that, right? Maybe it's something like that. Or maybe it's a coordinator on a sales team that ensures the VP of Business Development receives their weekly opportunity or pipeline report, right? That person makes sure that the sales director has what they need to understand what the opportunities are in the pipeline right now. Or just an administrator. Any administrative assistant position is a great place to start. Okay, just identify those support roles that have a lot of hands-on experience with making sure that these managers you're talking to has what they need. Okay, now reach out to them. Do the same exact thing that we talked about with the managers. Sit down with them, understand their pain points. Where do processes break down? Where are their bottlenecks? Where do things fall through the cracks? Where do they spin their wheels just spinning all the time? I promise you, they all have these spots. And then as you start to continue these conversations throughout the different teams, you're going to be able to start connecting the dots. You're going to bring in other SMEs. You're going to say, oh, this person mentioned this part of the process that's kind of always breaking down. Well, what is it about that team that maybe isn't understanding what this team does, right? Maybe just connecting these two subject matter experts together and having them have a conversation and explaining to them where these problems are coming up is going to solve a problem without you even having to do anything technologically yet. You've solved a problem. You're a problem solver. All right, so people love to be included in identifying problems. They love to have somebody listen to them about where their pain is. And they love to be the person that's identified as an expert, right? So you're saying, hey, I know you're an expert at this, and I don't know what I don't know, and I need you to tell me what I don't know. So please, I'm here to listen. Tell me what's going on. And they're going to be so excited to tell you this, I promise. They're going to give you whatever you need. All right, so step 3 of paying attention is to give yourself permission to be the Salesforce.com expert. It is absolutely a perspective. It's a shift in your mind to just give yourself permission, okay? If you're going down this route, and if you've gone through and started administering the system and have a desire and a goal to do this, then you're already on your way. And just give yourself permission to that. It is okay that you own what you're doing, and it's okay. Okay, I know that's a big hurdle to get over, and you absolutely don't have to know everything to do this. That's the beauty of it. Because no one does. No one knows everything. We all go on the success community. We all meet more other people that have more experience in one area or another whenever we have a requirement that we need to solve. But if you don't know what the requirement is to solve, you don't know which direction to go in. So that's why step 1 and 2 is about figuring out which direction you need to go in. And then once you figure out, is it opportunities? Is it leads? Is it, a contract management? Is it, where is the process? Which direction am I going to go in? Then you're going to be able to go and ask for help from the community and do the YouTube training videos and go into the Salesforce trainings and figure out how to be the technical expert in getting that task done. And then you'll add that to your resume. You'll add that to your list of skills. As soon as you solve one problem, now you'll be able to use that in your toolkit to solve another one. And then something else will come up, and you'll either already have that toolkit to use again, or you're going to teach yourself another one. The resources are out there for you to find how to solution technically. Salesforce community is amazing for that. So what we're talking about is allowing yourself to be that expert in the room, okay? And that's it. That's paying attention. That's 3 steps that you can do in one day. You can absolutely figure this out in just a couple of hours of sitting down and identifying these people and set up a couple of meetings with them. And then work on your mind shift to say, I am the Salesforce expert. I am putting in this work, and I am going to do this. Okay, so this is the admin's getting started model that we will be talking about on this podcast throughout each episode. We'll be giving a little bit more information on each of these different sections, and so that eventually we'll be so in depth on this model that we'll be able to move to the mature model. Once we get past this getting started, we'll have a mature model that changes a little bit once you get that full-fledged roadmap ironed out, and this is all, second nature, these wheels spinning that's shown right here. We'll kind of do a high level really quick so you get a feel for it. But each episode going forward will be covering a more in-depth, just like we just did with paying attention. We'll go into depth on each of these in coming podcast episodes so that we make this second nature. The goal will be that this is just continuous cycle of second nature to you, and then you'll be able to evolve into the mature model of Salesforce administration. Okay, so. We just covered paying attention, so that's the big red one here. The pay attention is kind of the first piece to get everything started. The gear starts to move, and then paying attention will get you into finding and implementing quick wins. okay? Because all that work you did in paying attention, like we just talked about, identifying your managers, finding your subject matter experts, gathering all of their pain points, and connecting all of those dots, and of course, most importantly, giving yourself permission to be the expert in the room, to be the problem solver, to just go out there and gather all of this. That process will just naturally lead into quick wins because you're going to want to help them with their problems. And you will find that you'll be able to do that relatively quickly because you'll put in an email alert, an automatic email alert using a formula, field update, or a workflow rule. You'll find these quick wins that you will just be able to go back to your desk and just say, oh, absolutely, I'm just going to turn on that email alert because you're telling me that the process really breaks down because you don't know that something has happened. And if you had a way of automatically knowing that something else happened, aka email alert or some other field update that gives them a report that they can subscribe to see how many times that happens daily, depending on how intense the process is. But you'll find these. You'll naturally find quick wins once you start paying attention and talking to everybody. And then, of course, the quick wins and the paying attention all start. And once the quick wins start happening, then people start talking to each other about Salesforce. All of a sudden, people are like, yeah, that Melissa, she did that thing. And I'm getting this email now, and my process is just amazing. Have you talked to her? Did she reach out to you? And then people are going to start talking to each other. And so you're going to find that the demo part, that's demo / kind of analysis, is really going to be your ability to sell Salesforce, basically, to sell your value, to sell the value of Salesforce within your organization, okay? Because once people start talking to each other, everybody's going to want you to help them, okay? It's just a natural opening of the dam, and all the water is going to flow out, and everybody is going to say, oh, but you help so-and-so, can you help me too? And it's going to be amazing and super fun, but it's going to be a lot of work. So you'll have to start formulating those demos, sitting down with people, prioritizing, connecting those dots, making bigger projects, lumping things into bigger projects instead of them being these small, quick wins. It'll all start to evolve into the mature model that we'll talk about down the road. But right now, the getting started model is all about what happens when everyone starts talking, because all of a sudden things are getting done in Salesforce and people are finding value and they want more. So how do you handle that? And then, of course, all around the background here you see is feedback. And the feedback loop is a continuous process that you allow yourself to be available and open to all feedback. Okay, your users, your subject matter experts, and your leadership team and your stakeholders, they all need to know that they can come to you with feedback and you will listen to them, whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, and you will take what they say and put it back into the cycle here. You bring it back into the paying attention and you put it back into the whole cycle to show them that you listen to them and that you are truly there at the end of the day to help them. Everything is about making their life easier. So there's more to that, and it's obviously going to be as in-depth on each of these points as we just went through on paying attention, but we're not going to cover that today. There will be more episodes out for you to go and listen to each of those. Now we enter the formula area of our podcast, the formula section, and I want to go over the BMO use case that basically just all the BMO use cases is it gives us a common terminology and a kind of really a way for us to be in the same developer org if that's something that you're interested in, so that your organization is set up just like mine, so that you can go back to your desk or later whenever you have time and you want to practice, you will have the same design as I have. So BMO is basically it's a use case that says that we've been hired as the Salesforce admin for a band management organization, aka BMO. And the bands that are our clients hire us to manage and book them to get paid gigs. Okay, it's an industry that I have no affiliation to. I don't even have any idea if this is something that exists. And to be honest, I'm assuming it does. But BMO decided to implement Salesforce. And this is not true. Again, this is all completely made up out of my head. To implement Salesforce to streamline their internal processes, and they want to keep growing and realize the importance of investing in the foundation of their process. So our role is to ensure that the implementation is successful, adopted, and brings value, of course, always value, to the organization over time. And if you want more information about the BMO use case, go to melissavandyke.com/admin to admin and download the full BMO guide. What we'll look at right now, just to get you started, is basically go create a developer org.
Salesforce.
And there's instructions here on how to do that. You can also, the instructions are in that download that I just mentioned. And sign up and create a new developer org just for this project. And once you do that, then follow the instructions on this slide. Again, it's also in the downloaded PDF document on the show notes. And follow these instructions to set up your org. So you'll make these objects, you'll make them related. You can follow through. We're not going to go through this right now, but this is what you can do if you are interested in being able to build all of the formulas exactly the way I do in every podcast, so that you build your org basically with me at the same time, so that you can do exactly what I do instead of having to, translate it to a different org, etc. You'll have the same objects and fields in your org that I have in mine, and it will make the practice a lot easier. So that's what this is. That's what the BMO org is. And again, find more information at melissavandyke.com/admin to admin to download the full guide. So today's formula is automatic field updates. So basically, these are awesome. If you haven't done one yet, this is going to be super fun. If you have and you have not used the ISCHANGED function, then this is the formula for you, because ISCHANGED is one of my absolute favorite formulas. So your managers will love the reliability of the data for reports when you use an automatic field update, because the idea is that the field is read only for your users, but it gets updated automatically through your workflow, so you can rely that data, that field is always exactly the way it should be, which is super great for reporting. Managers love that. And your users will love it, because that field is no longer there for them in edit mode, and they don't have to remember to update that pesky field, they'll always love it when you take away fields from them and you automatically update a field for them. And you can do it in so many different ways, and this example is only one of the many, many ways. So the ask. So this is your, one of your stakeholders or a user, somebody's asked you, can you update a date field every single time the next step text field is edited? And this is on the opportunity. The next step field, if you don't know, is a text field that is on the opportunity object out of the box. It's a pretty popular field. It's just a text field. What's your answer? Well, it's yes, of course, because this is Salesforce, people. Salesforce, we can do anything. So how are we going to do this one? We are going to do a workflow rule with formula criteria using the ISCHANGED function with a field update. And the first thing you have to do is make sure you already have the date field that you want to update automatically. So if you don't already have one, create a new date field that you want to start updating automatically. You could also do a date time field. The only difference between a date field and a date time field is the date time field also has a timestamp, where the date field only has a date stamp. If you do already have one, then just make sure that it is set to read only once you go live with your workflow so that your end users can no longer change it because everybody can rely that it's been being updated exactly when it needs to be updated from your workflow. So what is changed exactly? Well, every time the record is saved, the value in the referenced field will be compared to the prior value of that field, and if they are different, the outcome equals true. And it looks like this is changed, and then parenthesis, the field name, the field API name. And just to be clear, anytime the outcome of a formula is true, then the workflow that you're working on will fire. So the ultimate goal of every workflow rule you set up is that if it's true, then fire and do the actions that you set up. In this case will be a field update on the date field. So every time the next step field is changed at the time of being saved, it knows it's different, it will equal true, and this workflow will fire. And this is what your workflow rule looks like, okay? It is on the opportunity object. We evaluate it every single time it's edited. And we do this because ISCHANGED, the only way we can use ISCHANGED is if it's being evaluated every single time the record is edited. And we always get really detailed in our descriptions so that we honor other admins in the system or future admins or ourselves when we forget, a year from now what we were thinking when we did this. And then in the rule criteria, all we do is make sure that it is changed with the parenthesis and then insert the field. And the demo portion, which is after this, will show step by step how we made this workflow rule. So definitely stay tuned for that if you're interested in seeing this in action. The field update you'll add is an update to, in this case, we did a date time field called the next steps updated field. And we use the formula value now parentheses, open and ended. And the now is how you get a date timestamp, the date and the timestamp. If this was only a date field, then you would put the today parentheses instead of now, like you see here. It's the only difference. Today function is for a date field. The now function is for a date time. You go back to your opportunity after you activate your workflow and edit the next step text field and save, and you'll see that your next steps updated, or whatever field you named it as, will be updated as soon as you hit save. And that's it. Now, extra credit. Here's one little trick if you haven't ever heard of it. We have something called set history tracking in Salesforce. So you can go to the opportunity or any object and hit set history tracking, and then choose up to 20 fields is the limit. But check the box, especially when you do a field that's being updated automatically. It's a really good one to track because you can rely on it. And then you can provide some really cool audit history reports off of, because now that the field is being tracked every time the record is edited, then you can do some history reporting off of that field to show managers how often people are editing their next step, for example. So that can provide that's a really cool way to be proactive and provide some really cool insight to your managers. And if you have any questions or issues, please feel free to go to the Admin to Admin Academy on the Success community. That's success.salesforce.com, and find us and join the group and post your questions and talk about the podcast and where you're having problems. And you will find that I'm always around, and so is the rest of the community. So we will all get back to you as soon as possible and help you work through whatever questions you have. So we can't wait to hear from you. All right, let's get to the demo portion of our episode. Episode number 1, we're doing the automatic field update. As you can see, we are in our BMO org, and hopefully you had some time to set up, or you plan to set up your developer org to match ours, so that you can go and practice this workflow rule before you do it in production and for your company. And we're just going to delete this field really quick. So look at basically we're looking at the page layout for our opportunity record at BMO, and we have this field next step text field, which is a standard field in any Salesforce org on the opportunity. And we have created our own field called Next Steps Updated. And this is a date time field that we have been having our users manually enter. And now we are going to make their process easier and update it automatically using a workflow rule with an ISCHANGED function. Okay, so our team is really excited that they don't have to edit this field anymore. And so we're going to walk through exactly how to do this. First things first, we'll go into our workflow rule area. So on the left-hand side, we go under the workflow and approvals, hit workflow rules, and create a new rule. This is for the opportunity object. And we'll fill in a few details here. We will update next steps updated and take a date timestamp each time the next step text field is edited. Fantastic. I love to type in the description just to make it easier for any other admins that might be in your org currently or in the future, and to also help me remember a year from now when I go to look at it and try to figure out what I was thinking when I created these things. And now we choose that the evaluation criteria is going to happen every time the record is edited. It is the only way we can use the ISCHANGED function, because the ISCHANGED function is specifically set to, it has to evaluate the prior value of the field to the current value. And the only way the system can do that is if it's set to do it every single time the record on that object is edited. And then we will use formula criteria. So you always have an option to use your regular criteria with the drop-down menus to say, closed equals true, for example. You could always do these things. But in this example, we are writing a formula field. So we choose formula evaluates to true, and then we get this nice formula text box in order to write our formula. Now, on the right-hand side, notice that there's functions here. And if we start typing in here, we'll get down here to the ISCHANGED, and you'll notice that it's available. And it gives you a little bit of information about the function. And it lets you insert the function with the formatting so you don't have to type it out, which is really, really helpful. Now, in this case, it tells us where the field needs to go by saying field. So we'll double click on the field, word field, and then insert field, so that we'll replace the highlighted text with our own field, with the actual field, which is next step in this case, and we hit insert. Nice and easy. And now we see that every time a record on the opportunity object is edited, compare the current value of the next step field to the prior value that it was before the user hit edit. And if they are different, if those values are different, meaning the next step field has been changed, then provide a true outcome. The whole point of workflow rules is that you're trying to equate to true so that they fire. So every time this equation evaluates to true, this workflow will trigger, and our field update or email alert or anything that we have on this workflow will happen. And that's the workflow rule. We're going to continue on here, save and next. And now we need to tell it which action to do. And we know we want to do a field update. Next step updated equals now. So this is a date time field to equal now. Now, if your field is a date field instead of a date time field, you would be updating it to be today instead of now. So when we choose our field, we have a couple of options here. We can insert a blank value, or we can use a formula to set the new value. So we will use the formula, and we will just enter now parenthesis, and that tells Salesforce to take the date and time stamp of the system right now at the time that this workflow was evaluated to true, and put that into this field, our next step updated field. If you had a date field, you would put today instead of now, which just simply drops the timestamp. It'll grab the date. Now, Salesforce is really smart, so if you try to use the wrong function, no worries. See, if I try to save here, it gives me the error that I'm trying to use the wrong function. So we change it back and hit save, and this should go through. And we will activate, and now we want to test. So let's go back to the opportunity. And I'm a user. I'm going to go in. I'm going to edit. I want to say, my client wants to sign the deal. Yay, they're really excited. And as you can see, the next steps updated is blank. But when I hit save, voila, it's been updated to be the date and the time of the save. So this is fantastic. You can now, I would suggest that you now make this date field read only for your users so that they're not prompted in the edit screen to have the ability to enter a date. So basically, they're going to be really happy you're taking something away from them. They don't have to remember to update that field every single time. I'm sure your mind is racing with other examples you might be able to do this with now. So take a minute and write down those examples and those ideas and start playing around with this. You can do this for a lot of different things. Now, if you really want to get fancy, you can turn on, now that this field is very reliable, it will always get updated when you need it to. It's a perfect time to take advantage of the history tracking on this object. So if we go to our little developer quick menu and go over to View Fields, then we see this Set History Tracking button. If we click it, your org might look like this. You might have to enable it. Just check the box. And then you'll see all of your fields that you have available to start tracking a field, any field you want. I think it's up to 20 fields per object. So we will check the box for our new field, the next steps updated, and any other ones that we want, and hit save. Now, if you go back to your page layout, edit your layout if you need to, but make sure that you have the opportunity field history on your page layout. It's just on the related list options on your page layout. Drag it down, and as you can see, because I turned on that history tracking, every time this next step updated is changed, it is tracking it. And now I can run a report. I can either see it from here, which is really valuable. I could also run an audit history report off of this field to show a manager how often a certain sales rep is updating their next step updated field, for example, or how often they're updating their opportunities under the next steps. So just to get your brain kind of to wrap around the power of having a field that's automatically updated so that you can leverage it for really powerful reports for your managers. And you can just do this proactively and you'll be a hero. So that's it. That's our demo. Hope you enjoyed this, and I really hope you go in and mess around with practicing in your own BMO org and post it over to the Admin to Admin Academy at the success.salesforce.com community and let us know how it goes. Thank you.